Good afternoon. Welcome to our launch here at Swansea University. You are extremely lucky to be invited to be part of this launch and celebrate Swansea becoming the rights capital of the UK with us, children who live in this wonderful city. Before I invite our first speaker onto the stage, I would like to inform you that there is no fire drill planned for today, so if we hear the fire alarm, we need to walk quickly and, more importantly, sensibly out of the building. Our nearest fire exit is through the door to your left, and we will need to make our way down the stairs and out of the building on the ground floor. Our assembly point will be outside this building. We have a number of exciting speakers here with us this afternoon, as well as a number of pupils who have been busily preparing to present at this launch. We are proud of what Swansea Local Authority has done for us and the difference it will make for the thousands of children and young people growing up in Swansea right now. Speaking of right now, this launch is being streamed live in Swansea's Castle Square and also to thousands of children and young people across the city who are watching live in their schools. A big hello to everyone watching, and I hope you enjoy this afternoon.
Every child and young person here today knows that the UNCRC is about, more importantly, how it makes a difference to us. We all know what we can expect from adults to make sure we grow up to be healthy and safe, but to be listened to and be treated with dignity and respect. I think we could teach a few adults the difference between wants and needs. All schools here today are UNICEF rights respecting schools, which means that the UNCRC every day in our school, and it is fully part of school life. Reception children are taught about the right to go to school through Cinderella, and in Year 6 we talk about the rights of children during World War II in history. Learning about children's rights is fun, something that all children, not only in Swansea but in Wales, need to grow up knowing.
We have learned that all children in the world have rights, no matter what. I know that although Article 2 of the Convention of the Rights of the Child states this, but not all children in the world are getting their rights.
Many of us in our schools have researched and learned about many countries in the world, including Africa, Syria, India and Afghanistan, that are not doing enough to ensure that children are getting their rights. Children are being denied their basic rights, rights such as Article 24,
the right to healthy food, clean water and medical care.
Article 19,
the right to be protected and kept safe.
Article 7,
the right to a name and nationality. I have learned that this is maybe because of their religion, culture or factors out of their control like poverty, that children are being denied their basic rights. For example, girls in some parts of the world are unable to access Article 28, their right to an education, because of their religion, and some children are unable to access Article 24, their right to clean water, because of poverty and lack of government funds in their country.
However, some children in global countries lead healthy, fulfilled lives and are able to enjoy same rights as many of us. It's not just children far away that are living in poverty and being denied their rights. Some children in Wales and Swansea are being denied their rights and not accessing things like they need. Article 19.
The right to be kept safe.
Article 12.
And their right to be listened to.
We all live in different communities, in different parts of Swansea, where sometimes our lives are very different. But the UNCRC connects us all. It connects me to every child in the world, as we all are the same children living in the same world.
Gandhi said, "We must be the change we want to see in the world." But this can only happen if adults now look after the children and young people of today. Because one day we will be the adults who will be in position of power and making decisions that could affect you.
Our first speaker this afternoon, who will formally open the launch, is a very special person for children and young people across Wales. Keith Towler is our Children's Commissioner here in Wales. His job is very important and he makes sure that governments are doing what they can to promote children's rights. Mr. Towler is a very nice man who listens to children, young people and adults if they have an issue about children's rights and feel that they are not being listened to. Many schools across Swansea are ambassadors for Keith, and we have enjoyed learning about his job and the difference he is making across Wales. Please welcome onto the stage our Commissioner, Mr. Keith Towler.
I don't know what to say now, actually. I'm a very nice man, but these are very nice children. That was absolutely fantastic. There are people over there who are crying, so I don't know what it's like in Castle Square, but if you've got enough tissues, I hope you're surviving. Can I just say a few things? I think this is a really quite historic event here today. Very often we talk about history being made, and we say it a bit glibly, but today actually is a real day for history being made. Wales has a very proud tradition in relation to children's rights. The first country in the UK to appoint a Children's Commissioner, and what a nice guy he is. The first country in the UK to legislate in favour of children's rights, and it was the leadership really shown by Welsh Government paying due regard to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which inspired the city and county of Swansea to take a hard look at what Welsh Government were doing. And the city and county of Swansea, the first local authority in Wales, probably the UK, probably Northern Europe, probably anywhere else, to actually seriously think what it means to pay due regard to the convention. I think the children said it all just now, really. You know, when you think about the quality of children's lives in a fantastic city like Swansea, sometimes it's great, and other times it's not so great. And this commitment is trying to make sure that the convention becomes a reality for all children, not just in Swansea, not just in Wales, but across the whole world. This week, not a historic event, just business as usual for me as the Children's Commissioner, I published my annual report. And there was one central message in my annual report, and it was about whether we really, as a society, understand what listening to children actually means. Well, the leadership that's being demonstrated here in this city says that the leader of the council, elected members, officers, people who volunteer, people who work for the city and county of Swansea are making a big commitment to work with and listen to children and young people. The key thing about listening to children and young people is that you do something about it when they say something. So listening isn't a passive thing, it's an active thing. And as the children have already demonstrated, getting involved, listening to those voices, listening to those messages is fantastic. So, fantastic honour for me to open this event. I think it is a truly historic day. I would particularly like to pay my thanks to Mitch Theaker, who's standing over there crying because it's such an emotional day for him. But without Mitch, this wouldn't have happened. To the observatory here in Swansea University, to the city and county, of course to Sarah and to UNICEF, but more than anything, to the fantastic work that goes on in schools across Swansea, really working hard to raise awareness about children's rights. You are leading the way across the world, and I'm very, very proud of you all. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Ago, all Swansea schools were invited to take part in a competition to find a right-respecting mascot for Swansea. This was a really exciting competition which lots of us enjoyed taking part in. The judging panel met earlier this week and spent hours and hours looking through over 500 entries, which they tell me were all amazing. Mitch Theaker, Sarah Hooke and Dr. Anthony Charles have asked me to thank every single person who sent in an entry, and a big thank you to all schools who took part. It was a difficult decision to choose a winner, which will then be displayed all around the city of Swansea as a visual reminder for children's rights. The judicial panel has awarded a second and third place, but I would like to ask Keith Towler to announce the overall winner of the competition.
Okay, I hope you can see this in Castle Square as I unveil this, but the winner is a very reluctant but brilliant, well done you, Mia Parsons from Glyncollin School, and the mascot is Dilly the Dragon. Time for a drum roll, please. Come on, let's keep going. 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! Fantastic. Well done. Brilliant. Smile and wave. So hopefully we'll see Dilly the Dragon all over Swansea. That's brilliant. Well done, Mia. Fantastic. Brilliant. There you go. You should take that. Look after it well.
Our next speaker was our First Minister and leader of the Welsh Assembly government from 2000 to 2009. A former leader of Welsh Labour, he was the Assembly member for Cardiff West from 1999 to 2011. I would like to share a really interesting fact with you that I'm not sure many of you will know. The Right Honourable Mr Rhodri Morgan is the longest serving Welsh First Minister ever, being in office for 9 years and 10 months. Mr Morgan was elected Chancellor of Swansea University on 24th of October 2011 and helped launch Swansea University Observatory on the human rights of children and young people. Mr Morgan is passionate about children and young people and believes in children's rights and making sure we get what we need to survive, grow, be happy and safe. After Mr Morgan has spoken, the Vice-Chancellor of Swansea University will say a few words, followed by the Registrar of Swansea University. But firstly, it is my pleasure to welcome onto stage the Right Honourable Mr Rhodri Morgan.
How's that for timing? I don't think I've ever done quite such a tight squeeze in getting here, despite traffic on the way and hold-ups at the lodge and big queues and so forth, but we got here. And can I say what a wonderful occasion this is for me personally. I don't doubt that it is for you as well, but certainly it is for me. Let me explain why. Pan oeddwn ni yn brif weinidog ar Gymru, fe ddechreuais i ar holl broses sydd wedi dod i ben gyda'r mesur newydd ar hawliau'r plant, ond mae eisiau i wireddu fe ar raddfa ein awdurdodau lleol. Now, I started the process, but I didn't finish the process when I was First Minister of incorporating the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child into Welsh legislation. We finally got there when Carwyn Jones had become First Minister and I'd stepped down onto the back benches. But in order to make that a reality, to incorporate the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child into what happens day by day in Wales, it needs for the local authorities in Wales to implement it, as well as for the government to implement it. And Swansea City and County is the first of the 22 local authorities, I hope not the last, to incorporate it into its day-to-day workings by the ceremony which we're launching today with the university, then through Jane Williams and Simon Hoffman and the Observatory on the Rights of the Child here in the university, acting as the independent monitoring body which can tell Swansea City and County whether they are doing what they say they're going to do. Because you can't just say you're going to do something but nobody checks up on you, nor can you ask somebody within your own authority to do that. It's just not independent enough. So it's great that we've got a centre of expertise here in Swansea University in the observatory that can act as the monitoring body of Swansea City Council. And I certainly hope that Swansea won't be the last of the 22 local authorities to do that today. And I'm very pleased to see Councillor Siobhan Correa from Cardiff here as the Cabinet member responsible for children. Cardiff has gone by a slightly different route, but they're sort of coming together in a way in that the children are unbeatable policy, which is a key component in a way of children having the right to be heard, is stopping the so-called reasonable chastisement bit of legislation or tradition in Britain whereby you can, assault an adult and be done for it, but you can assault a child, and if it's your own child, then there is no prosecution because of this tradition of the reasonable chastisement exception to the law of assault. Now, Cardiff have led on that. It'd be wonderful for Swansea to follow Cardiff on that. Swansea have led on the incorporation of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and I think it'd be wonderful if Cardiff was to follow Swansea on that. If they both did a swap, and then the other 20 local authorities could say, well, the 2 leading cities in Wales have done both of these things now. Wouldn't it be great if all 22 of the local authorities in Wales went ahead? And I think, Siobhan, I'm right in saying that Cardiff will be launching their Children Are Unbeatable policy, which means getting rid of this so-called exception for domestic chastisement in the Pier Head on December the 19th.
That's right, yeah.
Anyway, and I'm sure you'll be extending an invitation to everybody here to come to Cardiff for that day anyway, but that's up to Siobhan. Anyway, it's great to have Siobhan here as a representative of the other big city in Wales, but this is about Swansea today. Llongyfarchiadau bawb am eu cyfraniadau i'r achlysur oll bwysig yma, y brifysgol, fel sydd wedi gwahodd pawb i fod yn bresennol heddi ac hefyd achos bod yr observatory yma yn y brifysgol yn enwedig llongyfarchiadau i ddinas a Sir Abertawe am gymeryd y blaenoriaeth a'r lle blaenllaw yn ein bywyd cyhoeddus ni yng Nghymru bod nhw wedi mabwysiadu y polisi yma. Congratulations to Swansea City and County of for adopting this policy of incorporation, UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. It really reminds me of my period when I was First Minister. It's nice to be reminded of it occasionally, and in a positive way as well, I mean, you know. So it's great to be here with you all today, and I'm looking forward to listening to the other contributions. Thank you very much. Diolch am wrando.
Furniture moving. Never be too far away for one's audience. But may I, as Vice-Chancellor, and therefore, technically, on behalf of Senate, say how delighted I am to have so many friends from the city and county, friends from the world beyond Swansea, and colleagues here today to celebrate this first for the university and for the city and county of Swansea. I also want to say hello Swansea, because this is being broadcast down in the town centre. Now, the university and the city and county are partners in many activities and many ambitions, and do work together in trying to deliver those ambitions. But none is more important than those directed, of course, at improving the access of children and young people to their rights and all that goes with that. Just over a year ago, in June 2012, I was here in this very room, which we call the Hub, celebrating the launch of the Wales Observatory on Human Rights of Children and Young People. That took place during a conference that brought together academics, non-governmental organisations, policymakers and practitioners from all over the world, brought them here to Swansea. A truly international and interdisciplinary affair, examining the past, present and future of children's rights and providing opportunity for consolidation of existing collaborations and partnerships and forging new ones. It was also a pre-congressional meeting of the World Congress on Rights of Children and Adolescents, which the Chancellor was engaged with. But today we focus on our own locality. And of course a university like Swansea works globally. But as I always remind our colleagues, we deliver regionally. And we're focused today on our locality, our local authority, in authority where the Council has taken the historic step of committing to incorporate children and young people's human rights in all its policy and decision-making processes. And of course, it's at the local authority level that many services are delivered and decisions that impact directly on the lives and life chances and opportunities of children and young people are made. Some of these services and decisions are about education, including access to further education and, of course, higher education. Now, we are obvious partners and collaborators in that regard. striving to deliver the best possible opportunities and the best support for students who study here. But our shared interest in the successful implementation of this new commitment from the Council ranges much wider than that. First, as a university, we aim to provide an environment of research excellence, with research that's world-leading and internationally recognised. The establishment of the Wales Observatory on Human Rights of Children and Young People, which I was mentioning a few minutes ago, should be seen in that light, helping us to provide a focus for international collaboration and for dissemination of research about the distinctive Welsh approach in this field. Again, working globally, but delivering regionally. Also, the observatory can act as a link between research evidence of what works elsewhere in the world in children's rights and local practices which are developing here in our local authority and in Wales. Again, working globally, but delivering regionally. Secondly, from the university perspective, we aim to deliver an outstanding student experience with research-led and practice-driven teaching of the highest quality. And we want to equip our graduates for a most distinguished professional career, but also for great personal achievement. So academic study is an essential part of the student experience, but is certainly not the whole story. We go far beyond. In a university like this, a campus university like this, our student experience goes way beyond academic study. Voluntary activities and participation in student societies, internships, and other forms of work experience are also important parts of the contemporary graduates' portfolios, and quite rightly so. Working together, we can look to expand opportunities for students that can also help support implementation of children and young people's human rights at the local level. And we may hear some examples from the Registrar in a minute. Then thirdly, our mission includes enrichment of the community and cultural life of Wales and a contribution to the health, leisure and well-being of its citizens. That's written down as part of our mission statement. And I was reminded that in Wales the concept of well-being embraces having access to your rights. And that's what the law says. On that basis, it's absolutely clear to me, quite pedantically in terms of our mission, that supporting the City and County of Swansea, this initiative must be seen as an integral part of the realisation of Swansea University's mission. And we're delighted to be engaged, and we're delighted that the launch is being held here in the university. Thank you.
Hello, and also welcome to Swansea. Before becoming Registrar at Swansea University, my professional career focused on services for children and young people, and I've retained that interest and have the privilege of chairing the Neath Port Talbot Children's Rights Unit. I mention the unit for two reasons. Firstly, because of the links that have developed between staff and students here and the work of the unit that the Vice-Chancellor referred to, and secondly, because of the potential links between the unit and the City and County of Swansea that I will come back to. The links between the unit and the university provide a practical example of the mutual benefits to be gained when we work jointly toward implementation of children's rights. One of the unit's activities aims to raise the levels of understanding of human rights by children and young people most in need. Swansea students have already helped to develop leaflets aimed at vulnerable groups, informing young people of their rights and how to access the services they may need. They've also contributed to the unit's evaluation of its own activities, and this work is continuing and expanding. The mutual benefits are fairly clear. The unit gets the benefit of additional human resource to produce outputs beyond what could be otherwise achieved. The students have the benefit of experience in researching and producing information targeted at particular client groups with all the associated transferable skills of organisation, team working, communication and presentation. Students are exposed to networking and career opportunities through their contact with the statutory and non-governmental organisations involved. The outputs, increased knowledge and capabilities, help individual children and young people to get over one of the barriers to full participation in society. The intent of the Newport Talbot Children's Rights Unit is to help local institutions that want to operate within a rights-based framework to do just that. The project has 4 key elements: the development of a local children's rights standard. Secondly, building a team of young people as children's rights assessors. Thirdly, building and supporting a Children's Rights Alliance to act as an effective lobby within local institutions. And lastly, helping civic leaders to challenge negative stereotyping and negative public attitudes towards children and young people. I think the potential for links between that unit and the City and County of Swansea are obvious. The University's involvement in implementation of Swansea's children's rights policy will undoubtedly also create opportunities for mutual benefit along the road to achievement of this policy's objective. Work experience is one aspect. Others may include development of research projects. Research and evaluative studies will help to identify benefits of the policy in action as well as problems and potential solutions. Conferences, symposia and workshops of the kind that we've already seen can help raise awareness and can help to embed rights-based approaches in the practices of key professional groups. Through our research networks, including but not limited to those of the Wales Observatory, we can access the best in international knowledge and experience, and we can consider how best this may have application in our localities. As a university, we can work with the City and County of Swansea as the authority develops its internal processes and help them to evaluate the impact their children's rights policy is having. This role, explicitly identified for the Observatory in the policy, is one which the university as a whole fully supports and welcomes as a natural and integral part of our community mission. Wales has got the legislation in place, we've got the policy framework in place, and in Swansea there is political and executive commitment in place. But the real challenge is, are we yet making a difference in the lived experience of children and young people? Working together, I'm convinced that we can do just that. And as Registrar, I look forward to seeing and supporting these exciting developments. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today, Mr. Morgan. We are so pleased that you are able to be part of the history we are making in Swansea. We would love you to visit us at school, so please let us know if you would like to accept our invitation. Our next speaker works here at Swansea University and has been part of a team of people who have been working on this policy since it started some time ago. Dr. Charles is a very important part of the team and was the original author of this policy. It could not have progressed without him. Dr. Anthony Charles is based in the Criminology department of the university and has a long-standing history with children's rights. Please welcome on stage Dr. Anthony Charles.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for that very kind introduction. I think we're all very blessed this afternoon to have such wonderful introducers. I want to start not so much focusing on the strategic aspect of what's happened in the City and County of Swansea, but actually on a quote that was given to me as we left the council meeting on the 24th of September this year. A rather senior officer passed me, and the exact words that were used were, "What have we done?" And I think myself, and we had an officer briefing earlier today, that what the City and County of Swansea has done is actually bring to fulfilment a quest that began at the inception of the City and County of Swansea back in 1996. For more than 20 years, local members, local councillors, local officers and partner agencies have all worked together to try and realise the real impact, the positive impact that children's rights can have on the everyday lives of our children, our young people and our families. And a quote that always springs to mind when I think about policy implementation, and I say this as a former local authority policy officer myself, is a lovely quote by John F. Kennedy, and he said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." And I think that's quite a poignant thought for us all today. What City and County of Swansea has done is actually quite breathtaking. The authority has gone much further than any other council in Europe. It's been a long journey. The development of the report that went to council took just over a year, with some hiccups along the way. But what has come out at the end is a policy that says, not only do we symbolically believe as a community of Swansea, and that includes our university and other institutions, including our third sector, what do we actually believe about children? Well, we believe that they are valuable members of our community, they should be respected, but not simply in a policy context. What is important about the UNCRC is that it actually makes a difference to the life of children. We're very fortunate today to have a number of schools here, and we can see the very positive impact that rights respecting school programmes do in school. We see the impact on children themselves, better self-esteem, confident young people who feel that they are part of their community and they can make a difference. And one of the articles of the convention, and anyone who knows me and the research I do, I tend to bleat on a lot about this, is Article 12, participation. And perhaps controversially, I do think sometimes that we focus too much on children's participation. And what we forget is that Article 12 actually creates an obligation on us adults as well. Children have the right to participate in making decisions. We as adults have a duty to listen to what children have to say and to make a difference. And I think that's the bit that comes next, really. When we were developing this policy in partnership with the local authority, we asked children, do you want this policy to go ahead? And I think Councillor Mitch Theaker would probably reiterate this later. The children said, get on with it. You've talked quite enough, get on with it. And I feel that's where we are now as a Swansea community. We've talked a lot about this policy for 20 years almost, and now is the time to make it happen. And I just want to echo what the Registrar, the Vice-Chancellor and the Chancellor have said. Swansea University has a great deal of expertise in children's rights. And I think the words in the report, I think they're very similar to this. It says we will be a constructive partner for change. And I think that us, the local authority and the children together can actually make the UNCRC not just a static, sterile policy document, but something that really makes a difference. And so what I want to say today is congratulations to the City and County of Swansea. I think you've taken an immensely bold step. And we all certainly want to enjoy and continue working with you in the near future. Thank you all.
I would like to introduce a very special lady onto the stage. This lady is special because she's a UNICEF professional advisor for Wales, and her job is to support all schools in Wales to cause right respect in schools. But what makes it even more special is that she has a much more important job to do as my mum. I am very proud of my mum and the work she's doing in schools all around Wales. Please welcome on the stage my mum, Sarah Hooke.
Thank you, Ella. I'm extremely proud to be here today, not just because my daughter is being educated and learning in a right respect in school, because I'm proud to be celebrating the launch of this policy and recognising the work of Swansea Local Authority. As UNICEF Professional Advisor for Wales, I have the privilege of working across our nation, supporting education in schools to embed children's rights and the values and principles of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child into the heart of the school's ethos. UNICEF is the world's leading organisation for children. We work in 192 countries all across the world. UNICEF UK is certainly proud of the work that we are doing and the difference we're making for children across the globe in supporting them to access their fundamental rights, essentially the things that they need in order to survive, to be protected, to develop and to participate. In addition to supporting our global work, UNICEF UK recognises that children right here in the UK, in Wales and in Swansea need to know about their entitlements through raising awareness and knowledge of the Convention, and one of our programmes is the UNICEF UK Right Respect in Schools Awards. The UNICEF UK Right Respect in School Award is based on the principles of equality, dignity, non-discrimination and participation. Right to Spend School seeks to put the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child at the heart of the school's ethos and culture, to improve well-being and develop every child's potential to reach their full potential. A right to spend school is a community where children's rights are learned, taught, practiced, respected, protected and promoted. Young people and their school community learn about children's rights and put them into practice every day. We work with primary schools, secondary schools, schools with special educational needs, pupil referral units, all across the UK to promote a child's rights-based approach to education and to share the practice in improving outcomes for children and young people. As was mentioned earlier by one of our lovely hosts, children in Right to Spend School are encouraged to look at rights cross-curricular. Children as young as 5 in reception learn to distinguish the difference between wants and needs. They are encouraged to look at traditional fairy tales through a child's rights lens, such as Cinderella not accessing her right to go to school and to learn. Pupils understand they have been voted onto the school council because Article 12 states they have a fundamental right to be heard. Eco-rangers understand that they are recycling, reducing and reusing, and that they are helping children to enjoy their right to a clean environment. Healthy Schools Councils understand their role is to promote Article 24, every child's right to healthy food and clean water. Children's rights and right to respect in schools provides a coherent values framework which can enhance school leadership and effectiveness and can serve as a basis for strong collaboration with children's services and aid multi-agency working. It helps shape the vision of a school and provides a rights-based rationale and can unify and bring coherence to a range of important but potentially disparate initiatives and good practice. I spent some time last night jotting down just some of the successes Swansea's had with Right to Respect in schools, and I'd like to share them with you. The first Level 2 Right to Respect in school was awarded in Swansea, and actually that number's risen to the first 3. Swansea is the leading local authority in Wales for right to respect in schools in terms of numbers and the progress schools are making. Swansea schools have taken part in UNICEF's UK's Good Practice Review to evaluate the impact of right to respect in schools, and Swansea head teachers have been invited to be part of UNICEF UK's work. This success has put spotlight on Swansea, and together we're at schools we have hosted many visits. Some of these visits include the First Minister for Wales, Carwyn Jones, the former Minister for Education, Leighton Andrews, who launched his national numeracy programme in a Swansea Right to Respect in School, the Deputy Minister for Children and Social Services, Gwenda Thomas, directors for education from numerous local authorities across Wales, Welsh Government officials, and along with children from Cadler Primary, I was invited to present to Baroness Hale. And for those of you not familiar, she's the most superior female British judge in history and is currently Chief Judge at the Supreme Court in London, which is held right here at Swansea University. So I hope you agree that Swansea is indeed on the map for children's rights, and UNICEF UK is very privileged and proud to be partnered with Swansea Local Authority. Now, Swansea has a vision that all its schools will be right to respect in schools within a 5-year period. Now, this will mean approximately 30,000 children and young people between the age of 5 and 17 in Swansea will have knowledge and understanding of children's rights, their entitlements. And I hope you agree, yet ambitious, this is fantastic. To enable this to be achieved, Swansea is wholeheartedly committed to ensuring all Swansea schools can access full training and support to ensure teachers and practitioners are fully supported. This launch year today is the pinnacle of Swansea's success, and it would not have been possible without the support and commitment of Swansea schools, but more importantly, our children and young people. Children and young people are making a real difference in this local authority, and this policy is going to make sure that children's rights remains on the forefront. I believe that this policy will make a difference to the children living in the city and county of Swansea, not only now but for generations to come. The Cabinet have made it clear that this policy will not fall by the wayside and will be implemented both at policy and practice. I, for one, am excited and proud to be part of this historic launch, and as one of the children quoted earlier in their introduction, we must be the change that we want to see in the world. Well, this change can only happen if the future generation are motivated, articulate, empathising citizens who can demonstrate tolerance, understanding, respect for others, their rights and the world in which they live. As J.F. Kennedy once stated, children are the world's most valuable resources and its best hope for the future. Thank you.
There are lots of important people working for the children and young people of Swansea. Our next speakers are doing wonderful jobs visiting us in school and listening to our ideas and opinions.
They both make sure that we are involved in making Swansea the best place to live and go to school.
Mitch Theaker is the Swansea Cabinet Member for Opportunities for Children and Young People. Mitch's job helps to make sure that children and young people in school have their voices heard. We know that he has visited lots of right respecting schools and is a governor at our school, Cadder Primary.
Will Evans is Cabinet Member of Learning Skills and his job is to make sure that people making decisions about us do so with our best interests at heart.
Both Mitch and Will are going to share their vision and commitment to children's rights for Swansea.
Well, thank you very much for that lovely introduction, Cadler. Of course you are the best school in all of Swansea, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a governor. Firstly, thank you all so much for coming along today, and thank you to everyone who's watching in Castle Square and all the schools that have tuned in to join us in this historic moment and this great celebration. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mitch Theaker. I am your Cabinet Member for Opportunities for Children and Young People. And I want to say a special thanks to the schools that are here with us today. They are rights-respecting schools of the highest calibre, and it's because of their example that this policy is in front of you today and that this has been possible. They are rights-respecting schools in what is now a rights-respecting authority. Now, I just wanted to reassure everyone and everyone watching that I am indeed a Cabinet Member. There hasn't been a mistake. I haven't locked the real Cabinet Member away in some cells underneath the Guildhall. I haven't pushed them off Mumbles Pier. I say this because often people get very confused and very worried when they see someone so young wandering in, and they expect me to just be carrying someone's coats, and they say, good heavens, you look 21. And I say, no, it's okay, I'm 22. And I keep telling people a story which they seem to enjoy quite a lot, which it disturbs me because it's actually true, and for some reason people always just laugh at it. I hold the record as the only Cabinet Member and the only politician, I think, to ever walk into a school and be told off for not wearing school uniform. So a few of the great heads have been part of the children's rights team that has made this possible. Bev Phillips of Blind and Mouse, Rachel Webb of Harvard, and Jonathan Atta from Gorosydd are just three of our children's rights A-team, and it would be very remiss of me to carry on without mentioning those responsible for where we are today. This was a policy built by the fantastic Dr. Anthony Charles from Swansea University and the wonderful Sarah Hooke from UNICEF. It was built by the excellent Jane Whitmore and Julie Gosney from our very own CYP Strategy Unit, by Eddie Isles from our Youth Offending Service, and Simon Hoffman and Jane Williams from the Children's Rights Observatory at Swansea University. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a former student of Swansea University, but this really wouldn't have been possible without their support. This policy, supported and inspired by the Welsh Government, recommended by the United Nations and praised by Estyn as exemplary, would have just been a pipe dream without these key people, these fighters and believers, and to them, the Cabinet Member for Education, Will Evans, and I owe everything. So just over a year and a half ago, the leader tasked me and Councillor Will Evans with the responsibility of pushing children's rights, which are the key to tackling poverty, right to the top of our agenda. And this is the result, which, if I'm honest, probably goes a little bit further than we thought it would. It requires a culture change, a structure change, and to an extent, it will mean a huge change in the future. It is the culmination of so much optimism and never giving upism. And what we have now in front of us is a long thought through, measured and realistic policy that has the robust safeguards necessary to ensure that this movement for change doesn't just fall to the wayside and doesn't just turn into one of those deeply well-intentioned policies for children and young people that eventually disappear. And in the spirit of our recommendations, of course, this report itself, as Anthony and Sarah mentioned, went through the rigorous scrutiny given by children and young people through an organisation or a group called The Big Conversation, which is our youth council. and it was on their recommendation that we pushed it forward. And just like Anthony said, they actually told us in quite harsh terms, just get on with it and stop asking us about children's rights. So 1.5 years of work, countless redrafts, exhausting effort, panicked phone calls to our legal department from the Calais to Dover ferry, difficult debates, never-ending nights, and the hopeful hope of councillors who've been fighting for this for generations. A long journey has finally culminated in this celebration of countless opportunities and possibilities, because that's what this policy really is. It's a gateway. It turns the convention from being just a piece of paper into a powerful tool that will give us the justification for so many future changes, that will help us on that long stride to crushing poverty in our great city and county. Our work with looked after children, the creation of the big conversation, support for lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender young people, our work to better parks, to open up streets for play, to open up flying start centres, to regenerate our schools, to tackle poverty. They are actions that turn the convention from being paper into being people. So on behalf of the Cabinet, on behalf of our schools, our children and young people, and everyone that's been involved in this process, I thank you very much, and I look forward to the future.
My name is Will Evans. I'm the Cabinet Member for Learning and Skills, and I'm delighted to be here today at the launch of the UNCRC in Swansea. Tuesday the 24th of September 2013 was an historical day for Swansea. At a full council meeting held at the Civic Centre, this authority, in the words of our Deputy Leader, who is amongst us today, nailed its colours to the mast and sent a clear message to Wales and the rest of the world that in Swansea we value what our young people have to say. It was an unique and very important occasion when the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child was adopted and embedded into the Council policy framework, placing children and young people at the centre of decisions that affect them. Just under 50% of our schools are rights respecting and have achieved UNICEF's Level 1 or Level 2 awards, whilst there are many others now actively participating. When I visit these schools, I am impressed by the inclusiveness, high esteem and confidence of the pupils. This whole school ethos underpins improvement in pupil behaviour, attendance and well-being, which are vitally important aspects of learning and school life, in addition to delivering the curriculum. I, as Cabinet Member, will continue to actively promote and encourage all schools in Swansea, and there are over 100, to embrace the UNCRC and embed it into the school ethos. Finally, I will leave you with a quote from one of our primary school head teachers, who does happen to be here as well, Councillor, who said, "It has enabled children to better understand why we work the way we do and influence change for the better. Children are happier in school, they want to come to school in the morning, and they want to help each other to learn." So on that note, I'll just say the UNCRC has been launched and we look forward now to the improvements through all our schools, and I'll be looking for that when I visit them. Okay?
I'm Caris Roberts, head girl at Pentre Harvard. I'm a pupil governor, year 11 representative for school council, trained peer mentor and trained in restorative practice. I'm also involved in the teaching and learning group in our school with the teachers to improve the standards in our lessons.
I'm Lewis Stranagan, head boy at Pentre Harvard School. I'm a pupil governor involved in school council and the teaching and learning group. I'm also partner leader with Caris Roberts in the charity fundraising events in our school, Pentre Harvard.
Hello, I'm Caris Richards. I was head of rights respecting in my primary, and now I am an ambassador for Pentre Harvard. When I was in my primary, I was very excited to be joining Pentre Harvard and taking my knowledge to my secondary. I was excited for everything we were going to achieve, and we have. I can't wait to see what happens in our future.
Hi, my name is Shannon and I am a pupil of Year 8. and I am a representative from my form 8-3. Also, I was a rights respecting ambassador for my primary. We all have a part to play at Pentrahavard School.
Hello, my name is Jessica Margaret and I'm a pupil at Pentrahavard School. I'm also a rights ambassador for my school and a school councillor. I featured in an advert for the abuse of the child's mind for the Welsh Assembly Government.
Hello, my name is Fatima Ali. I am a senior prefect at Pentrahavard. I'm also a trained peer mentor and I have a qualification in restorative practices, and I'm proud to say I've known my rights since primary school.
We're all very proud of everything we do in Pentrahavard involving the rights of a child. We would love to share with you everything we do. Well, what do we do in Pentrahavard?
Awareness of our rights is essential. This is why it's the right itself, Article 42. Children should be aware of their rights. We enabled this to happen by helping the Welsh Assembly to create the app Our Rights App Wales, which has been downloaded in nearly 100 countries, which I think you would agree is we should be proud of. I was also in the global launch in Cardiff Bay Hotel, where we had Gareth Bale helping us out to launch the app.
Well, why does this matter?
It's very important to let everyone know about the rights, because they will know where to go and know what they deserve. The rights are so important, everyone should know them, and the children should know that they are there.
Well, what do we do if we don't have an iPhone?
Pupils at Pentrahavard School get to see their rights every day because they are in our planners and on posters. This is good because it reminds us how important it is to know them.
Last week at Pentrahavard School we had a fundraising event for a special man, Jean Rebecca Day, who's against child slavery, and Pentrahavard will red or green and put in a donation for this cause. We have raised over £300. Article 35, the right not to be sold. Here at Pentrahavard, we support people from other countries who are entitled to these rights, but do not have the knowledge to know them or don't have access to them.
We're also linked with a school in Zambia called Matua School, where we sponsor 2 pupils, Gladness and Nathan, through a scholarship scheme, which pays for them to go to school, which they otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to continue their education. This is linked with Article 28, the right to an education.
We also have a right of a month. This month we are looking at Article 12, the right to be heard. This ties in with restorative practices as we are encouraged to express our feelings every day. Using restorative practices means we are treated fairly and listened to. Other schools have been encouraged to use our ideas because we have seen many improvements in ours. For example, our exclusion rates have dropped by 90% just by the use of restorative practice.
We haven't been able to tell you everything we do today, but we're more than happy to talk to you if you want to know more. I am extremely proud as head boy of Pentrahavard School that my school was the first school in Wales to get the School of Sanctuary status. And we ensure that all rights are involved in all of the lessons within our school. We are all really pleased that the Council have listened to us and is going to take the UNCRC seriously. Thank you all for listening.
Has travelled a long way to be with us today, and I hope you are proud of our work in Swansea as we are.
UNICEF is the world's leading organisation for children. They work in over 192 countries all around the world. UNICEF UK has programmes to help support children living in the UK.
Please welcome on stage, from all the way from London, Dragon Gnostic.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dragan Nastic from UNICEF UK, and I'm very pleased to be today here with you on this historic day. Swansea is a beautiful city, and this hub is a wonderful facility, and I think it deserves to be called the global hub of child rights, because I remember there were people from all over the world here last year discussing child rights. Thank you, Mitch, for inviting me. I'm really privileged to represent UNICEF UK at this event, and I'm very happy to be here with a lot of friends around, including Jane and Simon from the Wales Observatory, good friends but also partners in many projects, including this one. For UNICEF, the Convention on the Rights of the Child is more than just a collection of articles and individual rights, although every one of them is invaluable and very important. But what we see as the central value in the Convention was that in 1989, the whole international community got together and reached consensus that children must be seen as rights holders and that they are seen as active citizens and valuable members and integral members of every society. And this is the spirit that we would like to promote also in rights respect in schools. It is more than just learning about the Convention and your rights, being aware of your rights, but being also aware that other children have their rights, to respect it, and to live together and to work together for your own development, but also the development of every one of them. That's the culture that we like to promote and enhance to rights respect in schools. Article 1 of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, on which this convention and all other UN human rights treaties are based, say that we are all equal in dignity and rights. But then it goes on to say immediately on that we must all act towards each other in the spirit of brotherhood. And this is actually what the UN human rights system, including this convention, is all about. It's building a new world. It's making sure that the horrors of the Second World War never happen again. It's making sure that in the center of development and everything we do is every one of us, every human being. And that also involves children. Yes, children are the future of this world, but right here, right now, they are also equal members of every community and society. And this is what is so significant and historic about the due regard duty here in Wales. For us, it's hugely important on 3 levels. First, in the Wales context, because as we know, the government here has passed a due regard duty legislation, but it is implemented on the central level. But children spend most of their time surrounded by their family and in their local community. This is one of the most important environments for them in their life. So what is being introduced on a local level here is hugely significant. The second importance is on the UK level, because this is a unique development in the United Kingdom. UNICEF UK does work together with several local authorities around the country on introducing a child rights-based systems, but it is located more in different sectors and delivery of services. Here what we see is the implementation of the convention in everything that in policy and everything that is done and lived. And the last level is actually the global level. It's pretty unique what is going on here. Due regard duty is certainly a very unique model of implementing the convention. Last year I was part of an international research into implementation of the convention in 12 developed countries. There are not many local authorities around the world that implement directly and wholly the convention. The city of Melbourne in Australia is, for instance, one of them. So what is going on here has a value all over the world. UNICEF has offices in every country in the world, and I will make sure that all of my colleagues are informed on what is going on here. I'd like to thank you again for inviting me here to, in the invitation it says that this is the beginning of an exciting journey. I am here not just to wish you bon voyage, but to tell you that UNICEF would like to join you on this journey, to work together with you and to learn from you and to share your experience and knowledge with all countries around the world. So thank you again for this privilege.
a slight change in the agenda, which shows our flexibility. The pupils of Pentrahavod School mentioned an individual earlier, someone who is a passionate advocate for children's rights, and coincidentally we're very lucky to have him here today. So I'd like to invite up to the stand Dr. Jean-Robert Cadet, who'd like to address us, I think very appropriately today. So welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, okay. I've been coming to Swansea now for the past 3 years. And yesterday, I've learned about this event. And coincidentally, I went to a swimming pool where a lot of children were learning how to swim, were learning or taking swimming lessons. And on the wall, there was a poster. It says, all children have the right to a safe environment. And I thought, whoa, this city actually practices what it's preached. And not only that, to further protect the environment of those children, the staff at the pool had little plastic shoes for adults to wear over the shoes to come in to pick up their children, to be able to walk around the pool, to protect those children from foreign substances that could make them sick. I was very, very touched by that, and I said, wow, this is a well-deserved recognition for the city of Swansea. I live in the United States, and I've been living there for the past 40 years. But I was born in the country of Haiti. As you know, Haiti used to be a French colony, a slave colony, and Haiti received again its independence in 1804. From 1804 on, there's a system in Haiti called Restaurec, which means that children who stay with adults to serve them. In other words, to work as domestic slaves. My mother died when I was 4 years old, and I was given to a family. And the day I walked into this family's home, my place was under the kitchen table. I was the first to wake up and the last one to go to bed. I could not speak until spoken to. I didn't have the right to speak. When I was 10 years old, they said, well, maybe you should know how to read. And I was sent to a literacy center. And I began to learn my ABCs at 10. And the family decided they would move to the United States in search of a better life. They thought, we will go to the United States with our family, 3 adults and 2 children. We will bring Bobby with us. They call me Bobby. But for me to come to the United States, they had to have a fake birth certificate. I never had a birth certificate. I don't have a birth certificate. I don't have a real one, which is what Article 7 said. All children are entitled to a birth certificate and to a nationality. I was living in Haiti, my birth country, where I was not Haitian. I couldn't prove to anybody that I was Haitian because I didn't have a birth certificate. With the fake birth certificate, I was able to come to the United States. Basically, I was trafficked into the United States. I was perhaps 15, 16 years old. And I was at the house. I was kept to work, to do basically the same chores I used to do in Haiti. Until a family friend said to the family that owned me since I was 4, if you don't send Bobby to school, you're going to get in trouble because all children in this society have the right to an education. In Haiti, that doesn't exist, the right to an education. I was enrolled in a high school, and I was placed in a 10th grade. Didn't speak a word in English. After school, I would go home. People would be very angry because they didn't bring me to America to find a better life. They brought me to America to work. So they decided that, you know, the work is not being done, the floor is dirty, the dishes are not being washed, the laundry is not done, the beds are not made. Get out of my house. Get out of my house. So I began to live in a laundromat. Then in the morning, I would take the bus to school. And for food, I would place myself beside the garbage can, and whenever children would empty their tray into the trash, and I would take a half-eaten slice of pizza, kind of in a way that they wouldn't see. And one day I couldn't take it anymore. I was just in an environment where I didn't know anyone. I wasn't safe. And I told the teacher. And the teacher said, "We're going to help you." And I was taken to the welfare office or the social services, and I was given food stamps. And I was provided with an apartment with a room where I lived with a family, and I paid them every month. And the teacher said to me, "You come to my office, certain teachers, we will tutor you." They recognize the value of an education. They recognize that I had the right to an education. And the teachers who took me to the welfare office, the social services, they wanted to provide me with safety, which is one of the rights that all children should have. And I graduated from high school after 3 years, and I joined the US military, and I became a paratrooper in the military. After 3 years, well, in the military I had a choice. I was given a choice. They said, you can stay in the military for the rest of your life, for 20, 30 years, or you can leave and go to a university. So I chose to go to a university. And I became a teacher because the people who helped me at the high school, they were teachers. The people who tutored me, the people who were my heroes, my role models, they were teachers. So I became a teacher. And I got married. And my wife's family never knew anything about my background. I was so ashamed of myself as a human being. So ashamed that I couldn't tell anybody that I used to be a child slave. But there was a little person in the room that day. It was his birthday. Adam, he was 6 years old. And his grandmother and grandfather came with toys. And they had all those toys on the table. And then I thought, wow, this kid is lucky. I never had a toy when I was a kid. I never had time to play. The right to play, the right to relax, I didn't know these things existed. And at 6 years old, he said to me, "Dad, how come I've never met my grandma and grandpa on your side of the family?" He was a smart kid because he didn't want to meet his grandparents. He wanted more toys. That's what he wanted, because he wanted more people to come to give him more toys. And when he asked me this question, and everybody was looking at me just like you're looking at me now, and I quickly took a toy and put it in front of him. I said, "Here, play with this," because I was very ashamed to tell people about my childhood, to explain to this little boy who asked me this question, 6 years old. When I was 6 years old, I didn't have the right to express myself. I didn't have the right to speak. And that night, after I put this little boy to bed, I decided to write a little story to tell him why Daddy does not have parents. And I couldn't stop writing. I spent a whole year writing this little letter, and this tiny little letter grew, morphed into a manuscript, and the manuscript was published. And I talk about children's rights. I talk about the plight of children in Haiti who are in slavery, and that book landed at the United Nations. It also landed everywhere, universities all over the world, and people started to learn about the plight of those kids. And this book was translated into French and sent to Haiti. And the people in Haiti, the wealthy people who had slave children, became so ashamed of themselves, and they stopped the practice because of this very important right, the right to an education. I was invited in 2011 to Swansea to speak to children about children's rights. And I walked into a classroom, elementary school, 5 years old, 5 to 7 years old. And they wore green and red that day. And I asked them, I said, how many of you know about the UN Convention on the Rights of Children? Everybody raised their hands. And I thought, maybe the teachers put them up to this, in case I asked this question. And then I said to them, and I asked them, can you tell me what these rights are? These children, 5 years old, I have the right to an education. I have the right to play. I have the right to an opinion. Oh, just melted my heart. And I told these kids about children in Haiti, the rights they don't have. And these kids decided they would do something about it. They raised funds on their own. And with this fund, I commissioned a song in Haiti. And the song is about the right to an education, the right to play, and the right to an opinion. And for the last 2 years, the song's been playing in Haiti. It's playing in Haiti today. So because of the children of Swansea, and because of the parents of Swansea, a stone of hope is being tossed in the pool of possibilities in Haiti. Who knows what wonderful things will ripple outward. Thank you.
Leaders of Swansea Council, Councillor David Phillips was appointed in May 2012 and has served on the council since 1996. Tackling poverty is a key of priority for the years ahead, and I hope that Councillor Phillips has been enlightened with the fantastic work that our schools are doing in helping us raise our aspiration and helping us to dream, believe and achieve. I know that Article 29 of the UNCRC says that I have the right to be the best that I can be, and I dream that when I grow up I become a famous author. Please welcome onto stage Leader of the Council, Councillor David Phillips.
It's great when you're given a script and it's wrong. I actually was on the council in 1988, but yes, I know, I don't look that old. I hope you've all enjoyed the day and have found it very interesting, and I think you'll agree, but I think it's been inspirational and motivating. Many informative keynote speakers, and I would like to thank them all for giving of their time and joining in the celebration to drive forward and embed children's rights, and for this city to become Europe's first rights-respecting authority. On my way into the building, having to wait hours for the lift because of all the children were going up and down in it, but I met Rhodri Morgan, and he was praising Mitch, and I began to tell him the story of Mitch being told to go home from a school he was visiting because he wasn't wearing a uniform, but Rhodri said, don't bother, he's already told that joke. But Rhodri did say how much he had enjoyed himself and how wonderful he thought not only the kids were, but what was going on in Swansea in regards to the UNCRC. Swansea Council has followed in the footsteps of some of our most, and by our most, I mean Swansea's most excellent schools, who have some of the most inspirational staff. Today has been about showcasing the work that's been carried out in Swansea so far, and an opportunity to learn about and help shape the opportunities that policy could unlock for the future. I'd like to say a big thanks to the pupils, along with the teacher representatives from our schools, for leading the conference, providing numerous performances which have helped to demonstrate in a very practical way how children's rights can be implemented into all aspects of school life. I'm sorry I've not been able to be here, but those of you who've been reading the paper and watching the news will know that we've got a bit of a preoccupation at the moment with the amount of money we're going to get or not going to get next year. And I'm afraid that's taking a rather a bit more of my time than I anticipated. But we were very fortunate at the last council meeting to have a presentation on this issue from children from Bonamine and Harvard schools about the work that they've done on the UNCRC and their knowledge of the UNCRC, which is, I have to say, a lot greater than mine. And they concluded by singing their school song. And this was one of the most inspirational, pardon me? Question at the back, yes?
Sorry to interject, Leader, but it wasn't Bonamine School, it was Blind the Mouse.
I've asked 3 times, and each time I wrote Blind the Mice, because it made it Bonamine. About the work, they sang their school song, and it tended up to be one of the most inspiring and moving council meetings that I've been to since I came onto the council in 1998. So Swansea Council, since May last year, has a set number of values. We aim to provide fairness for families and children, to tackle poverty and to improve the life chances of our children. We're extremely proud to say that Swansea has become the first local authority to make a formal commitment to this, but it's now how the hard work now begins. We believe that our children shouldn't be limited by circumstance or deprivation, but only by the extent of their ambition. And it is that ambition that we want to develop. It's that ambition that we want to nurture. That anything is possible if you have the opportunity. Anything is possible if you're given the chance and the opportunity to take that chance. Embedding the convention helps us work towards this possibility. This hope is our future, for our future, which is our children. And as leaders, we have to have due regard to the convention and council services, which will have to become shaped around it. We've got a great opportunity here to turn articles of the convention into on-the-ground changes. The convention is just words. We've got to give those words meaning by actually putting into effect what they say. By putting into effect what the children who came to our council meeting in representation of all the children in Swansea actually want us to do. To make real the ambition that existed during its creation, which was so eloquently spoken about just now, all those many years ago. To change paper, to change words into people, into rights for people for the future. They may be children, but they are people, and they do have rights. Can I thank you all for coming today to share in the passion for our country, for our city, and for our young people, the future of both. Thank you to everyone who made this change possible, and thank you to the schools for always showing such commitment and sticking with it. Thank you to the children and young people who, as usual, demonstrate exactly why we have such a present to be proud of and such an outstanding future to look forward to. Thank you all very much.
Tummy. I am a child, I have a nose and ears. I am a child, I have a voice and a heart. I am a child now. I am a child, but do I have rights?
Yes, you all have rights.
Do I have the right to a family that cares about me and a country where I feel like home?
Yes, you have the right to a surname and a first name.
Do I have the right to eat and drink enough so I can be strong and healthy?
Yes, you have the right to healthy food and the responsibility not to waste food.
Do I have the right for a roof over my head and a home that is not freezing cold?
Yes, you have the right to a roof over your head, a home where you feel safe. You don't need anything fancy, just a place with everything you need.
Do I have the right to play, create, and imagine?
Yes, you have the right to play. Yes, you have the right to best treatment available to humans and the responsibility to look after themselves.
Do I have the right to go to school so I can reach for the stars?
Yes, every child has the right to go to school for free and the responsibility to be the best they can and not to disturb others.
Will people respect me whether I'm black
or white?
Tall or short?
Rich or poor? Born here or born somewhere else?
Will I be respected?
Yes, everyone has the right to be respected and everyone has the responsibility to respect everyone's thoughts, religions and culture.
Does anyone have the right to abuse my childhood?
Nobody has the right to abuse your childhood. Nobody. No child should suffer any kind of violence, abuse or neglect.
Do I have the right to breathe clean air, to have a clean, safe environment?
Yes, you have the right to breathe clean air and the responsibility to look after the environment, even children.
Do I have the right, can I rely on all governors who work with children to help me and to listen to me?
Yes, everyone who works with children has a moral responsibility to protect from harm, abuse and neglect.
Do I have the right for people to care about me so I can run, climb and shout?
Yes, you have the right to play. It's important for children to have friends. No one wants to dance alone.
And the responsibility to include everyone in their games and activities and try not to exclude anybody.
Do we have the right to discover what makes true friends or what peace means and where the rainbow ends? Or how to respect our planet and every person who lives on it? Or every animal that runs and roams and every plant that brightens this home? Do we have the right to express ourselves freely, to say what we really think, even if adults don't agree? Do we have the right?
Well, guess what? You do have these rights because our country signed up to the United Nations Convention of the Rights of a Child and because you are a child.
But when will every child in the world have their rights respected? Tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, in 20 years' time, because the right to be a child is now.
Because right now, I am a child. But the harsh reality of facing the world children is...
Millions of children suffer from abuse and neglect. 180 million children still do dangerous work. 1.2 million children are trafficked every year. Over 1 million children are in jails.
Millions of children are excluded and invisible. Births are not registered, so governments and agencies don't even know they exist.
121 million children are still missing out on their education. Girls are more likely than boys to miss out on school.
There is a huge gap between the rights the children have been promised and the harsh realities faced every day by children.
Children don't start wars. They don't make trade agreements.
They don't borrow money from the World Bank.
They don't have the power to decide who gets life-saving medical treatment and who doesn't.
They don't decide how much aid is given and who gets it.
Adults make these decisions, but too often it's children who suffer the consequences.
I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character. Where little black boys and girls can join hands as brothers and sisters. I have a dream today.
I have a dream today. One day, children will learn words they do not understand. Children from India will ask, what is hunger? Children from Alabama will ask, what is racial segregation? Children from Hiroshima will ask, what is the atomic bomb? Children at school will ask, what is war? You will answer them. You will tell them. These words are not used anymore, like stagecoaches, galleys, slaveries. Words no longer meaningful. That is why they have been removed from the dictionaries. Martin Luther King.
Still, every 3 seconds a child dies in this world.
Because right now, I am a child.
While they're assembling, I didn't realise this was happening right now. This is what we had in council, and if you're not moved at the end of this, there's something wrong with you.
And we hope you will all join in and singing and clapping, please. We've got all the schools? No more schools? No.
There's no mountain to break. oh, oh.